Thank you so much for joining our call today. Our June meeting. We have two amazing speakers as usual. So Kat, and obviously our co-speakers as well, Kat and Charlie, of course. As you are aware by now, we are the official Microsoft group, so we apply to the Microsoft event conduct code of conduct. If you see any behavior that is disruptive, disrespectful, please contact with myself, Kat or Charlie, or report that directly to Microsoft. I don't want to go to details of that. I would like to start our presentation as soon as that's possible. Just to quickly cover the basics, that we ask everyone to be welcoming and respectful. If you have any questions, ideally if you can put it in the chat or raise your hand and allow the speaker to ask you the question rather than interrupting the flow of the sessions. Also, just to make you aware, the call is being recorded. It's entirely up to you if you want to have your camera on or not, but we do welcome everyone to see your smiley faces and your reactions. If you would rather hide and express your reaction using the Teams reaction, you are also more than welcome to do so. Either a lot of applause. It's always very, very encouraging for our speakers. One more thing to add before we move to our presentations for today. We recently opened the new call for speakers. We'll be celebrating today on the call our 12th call. So we've been a user group for a year now, and we have a new call for speakers, as I said. So if you are interested in presenting, please register yourself via the Sessionize, and we'll be in touch with you to discuss the details when potentially you can present. And without further ado, I would like to move to our presentation. We will start today with David's presentation on how to create an accessible Power Apps to book event tickets. So David, over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I will share my screen, including the sound, so let's hope no notifications arrive. Okay, thank you to all the community for letting me to be here with all of you. I am from... Okay, we will start by presenting the session. I will show you how to create an accessible Power App canvas to book event tickets. Okay, so I will give some advices on what tools you could use to improve your accessibility checks, and also how to test how a person with disabilities could use your apps, and be sure to that the app is accessible for the broader audience than it used to be. Okay, I present myself. So I'm David Lorenzo. I work as a Power Platform lead in Prodware in Spain. I come from Tenerife. This is my LinkedIn and Twitter. I prefer to be contacted by LinkedIn. And then I would like to mention our community. This is, of course, in Spanish. Just in case you understand Spanish and want to share your knowledge, we have a YouTube channel, and we organize in-person and online events in Spain about our platform, artificial intelligence, and so on. I have some certifications also, most of them about Fabric or Power Platform or AI, which is my main focus of study. And then I'm Microsoft MVP in Power Apps category since the last August, so almost a year now. And yeah, let's go. So accessibility isn't just a feature, okay? You should take it as a fundamental right that ensures everyone can participate equally in the digital world. So when thinking about developing an app or a website or whatever system you are developing, you should think about which type of users are going to use it, and then provide the best ways, the best functionalities, so all of them can use it on the same way without any stoppers that they usually come to when they try to use, for example, people with blindness or people with color disabilities that maybe can have problem or issues when using web pages or web apps like we will see today. So why accessibility is a must? So we need to be sure that we provide an equal access for all the users. Okay, so ensure that people with disabilities can perceive, understand, navigate. We will see how a Power Up can look like can be used by everyone, but then if you don't apply certain features like focus flow of the components of the input, then people with blindness, for example, will be out of the game completely because they cannot reach certain buttons, certain functionalities that you can access them because you can move the mouse, you can use the keyboard, you can see the screen, but people with that disabilities will be out of the game if you don't ensure that functionalities. About legal and ethical responsibility. And I want to emphasize on the legal because right now, I will switch one moment to the browser. Right now, there is coming into play the new European Accessibility Act that comes into effect on the end of this month. And so this gets approved on 2019, so not short ago, just six years ago, and then now it will come into effect on the 28th of June. So all the companies, all the websites that have digital products, like for example web apps, or if you work with the governments more inclusive, you must be aware of this law. I won't go into detail here, just to mention that if you have any website, any web application, just take a look and be sure that you are right with all the requirement that it states. Okay. Coming again to the presentation. So we want to improve also the user experience in our app, offering an accessible design. A clean design is better. Most of the time is better than a very full design full of things. So it's better to guide the user through a concrete call to action, a concrete interface, and not put so many things that may confuse the users when using your app. And then try to think about a wider reach, a wider inclusion by making the digital products accessible and open them up to a broader audience. So that's why we try to do today by explaining some techniques that you can use when developing your app. So these are some of the points that you must take care when developing, when designing your app. So using semantic controls, using accessible labels and tooltips, ensuring keyboard navigation. That's where we will focus the session today. So we will try to make an event booking ticket using only the keyboard and the narrator. And then I will explain some of the techniques that I have followed to get that. Also, the high contrast and color contrast is very important because people with color disabilities. I have a colleague with that problem, and then he can't differentiate, for example, red and brown color. So that's this is not it's not usual, but so we usually don't get that issue into account. Don't take into account that issue, and that's a problem for many people that can't identify the different colors of a user interface. We will test also with screen readers. In fact, we will try the narrator that comes integrated into Windows, but there is a lot more. So you should test your application with that screen readers to see the problems that they arise when you don't use all the accessibility features in the correct way. And then we should provide alternative text for images. Okay, so just in case you haven't checked our previous session on March, so Taylor was talking a little bit about accessibility checker in the session about Power Apps. So I won't go into detail in this feature, just to not be repeated here. So I get to you to see that the second half of this video on the March event. And then you can start by using Accessibility Checker to get all your interface with the recommendation that Power Apps gives to your interface. For example, filling up all the missing accessible labels, improving tab order, filling up alternative text, and fixing the non-semantic controls that you might have in your interface. Okay, so that's your first step. I have done myself following the Taylor video for the demo today, and then we can continue here with some useful techniques. Okay, so first of all, I would like to show you the color contrast checker. So that's why is this important? For example, with the new law of European Accessibility Act, we must follow the AAA rules. So that's mean that we must follow a contrast ratio of 7. And here you can see that, for example, this example here, we have a contrast ratio of 2.85. That's not okay. So we usually can see this text, no problem. Maybe we have to force a little bit the eyes, but the people with disabilities won't see it at all. Okay, so we need to at least do it like here, or maybe put it. So here is we are putting a darker background with a lighter text, or putting a darker text in a lighter background. So that's very important for just people that can have some eye disability can read without issues the different text. So one way to check that is with, of course, accessiblecolors.com. Here you can fill up your text color, your font size, your font weight, and then the background color. And then you can choose which compliant you want to be. So the most compliant, the most wider audience that you will get is the AAA, and that's enforced by the European law from the 28th of June. So that way you can put your configuration here and see if you are okay with that compliant. Another tool that I will show you in live now is the Edge DevTools. And using, here is a screenshot of my app. I will show you how to do this now. So let's go to the app here. And then you can see here, okay, the Power App, usual. And then here is the darker background with a lighter color. Okay, if we go to play and then put on F12 in the, okay, this Edge DevTools, we can go to this element. Okay, let's remove the... Okay, we can go to this element, and then we can check here the color. If we click here and open this, we can see a contrast ratio here. If we expand, we can see that we are compliant with AAA and also with A. But what happens if we go darker? Okay, that way here, this color, I can read it. Most of you, I am sure you can read it too, but people with disabilities won't be able to read it or have difficulties to read it. So now we are not compliant with AAA. That's one way, one easy way. You don't have to publish the app. You only have to play the app and just go to the text and check the contrast ratio. Okay, so if you go a little bit lighter, you see that now we are compliant with, and then you can pick up the color and then use it on your Power App. Okay, so that's one way, one easy way where you can pick up colors. There is another tools here. I usually use that tool, the wave extension. But so I develop also web page outside Power Apps or Power Pages. That is cool also for Power Pages. But the problem here is that this web tool analyzes the source code, the HTML code, and if you see here the Power Apps interface, it is injecting here an iframe here. So all the Power App is inside an iframe. So that tool doesn't go into the iframe. So that's why it is not showing up any contrast error, because it is only analyzing the outside container. Okay, so that's another tool. I want to mention that, but it is not useful not useful for Canvas app, but you can use for testing the accessibility on normal web pages or also in Power Pages inside the Power Platform. Okay. So let's go back. We have some time. Yeah. So if we follow, we can use also the window color filters. Okay, that way we can check for people with deuteranopia, protanopia, which have problem with red-green colors, or tritanopia with problem with blue-yellow colors. Also, we can try our app in grayscale or inverted filters, and also on grayscale inverted to enhance the focus and readability. That's very easy to test. So we go to color filters in Windows. This is on the settings. I will show you here. Okay, I will change to the app, and then let's close that. And then we go to this. And then if I switch the different colors here, I enable that, so we can try it on grayscale, on blue yellow, red green. So you must be sure that all your combination, okay, inverted also. So all the combinations should be readable on your app in order to guarantee the accessibility for the wider, broader audience. Okay, so that's another cool tool that you can use. Going ahead, and then we have one of the last screen readers. Okay, so you have different open source option like NVIDIA or JAWS, but we will use, of course, the one which is included in Windows, which is Windows Narrator. So we can just click on the shortcut Windows plus Control plus Enter to turn on, turn off the narrator, and then we start using the app by navigating with the tab key and the space key, and then hearing about the narrator statements to see that people with blindness, for example, could use and could make, in this case, a event ticket booking without most issues. Okay, and then another thing before going to the demo, I have control the focus flow in the app. For example, when you open a new screen in a Power App, you should, in the on-visible property, should set the focus to the to the first event, to the first input or the first element in the app that the user must start to using. No, when the user first open that screen, I think the events screen, it should be searching a new event, or maybe going to the plus button to create a new event. So that's only a tab of distance here. So I put the focus on the search, and then the user experience will be improved, because by default in Power Apps, it will set the focus on the top left corner, which is the upper bar. So if you remember Power App, it will set the focus here every time. So the user can start giving a tap, and going from left to right, up to here, then going down. So when it arrives here, maybe it have 15 taps already. And then it goes into the next screen, and then again starting from here. So if you don't control the focus flow of the user, it will get lost very soon. Okay, so that's an interesting point. And then, okay, let's go to the demo and I will try to make so I have created like a simple app. Okay, by the way, I am happy to use that plan designer. It's very useful with the last updates. So just in case, we can do another session another day, but I have created everything here with the plan designer. And then so let's go here. I will start the narrator.
Starting narrator. Scan. Event booking app. Power apps. Event booking app doc. Click to access events list. Button.
Okay, you can see that
widgets pane.
It's reading
widget,
all the elements.
Event booking app. Power apps and 9 more pages. Power Platform Ninja. Microsoft Edge window. Scan. Enter search terms to find bookings.
Okay.
Edit. Search. Scan off. Cap E. Getting your data. Number of click to create a new booking. Button. Scan. Event booking app. Scan off. Booking customer. ID. Space. David. Cats. Y. Booking Cap O. Booking customer email. Edit. At symbol, Davidal 60, Hotmail, M. Booking customer phone, 4. Booking status, button, scan. Booking status items dialog, event booking app, booking event name, button. Booking event name items dialog, theater play, concert, tech conference. Event booking app, Power Apps and 9 more pages, Power Platform Ninja. Click to reset the current booking form to its default values. Click to save this booking, button. Event, enter search terms to find bookings, edit. Exiting narrator.
Okay, so this way you can see how the flow have changed. So when you create this Power App, on the first time, it puts these icons on the left, on the right part of the sidebar. Also, the edit button, and also the confirm and reset button. So that's not a good accessibility point, because when you open a new form, this is the flow. So you start here and go like there. And then if the buttons are here, the next tab will go like, I don't know, maybe here again, because it's the beginning of the screen. So here is no more. So the tab order in European language, or left to right language are going to from left to right, from top to bottom. So you must control the flow of your app and the position of the buttons, so blindness people can follow that order in order to complete the process. In this case, is making a new booking. So we start from here, when you click here, the focus is set to here automatically. He starts filling the all the fields, and then he has to button to cancel or to confirm, and then goes back to here. So that's how we control the flow. And if you can show, I can show you here that okay, after you click here, what you have to do is to set the focus to this element, okay? And then if you are in this mode, after you confirm here, you have the form on success, and you set the focus again to here. So you are all the time controlling the focus and the flow on the app. That's very important, because if you don't do that, the user will get lost very soon. Okay, if the time is gone, I will try to just giving you some of the resources. You can take a photo or maybe copy that. If not, I can share the presentation. And of course, these are useful tools and web page to go further in the accessibility tools and documentation also about Canvas apps, accessible apps. Okay. And it's on. Thank you for your time. Don't know if you have any question.
That was amazing, David. Any questions for David? There's few links.
I learned a lot. I mean, as much as I've been working in Power Platform for 6 years, I learned things today. That was awesome.
Yeah. So people also talking about Plan Designer. I have a very surprised of the last features that are in preview, but of course it will allow you. So it creates for me also really an agent to talk with the events and Power Automate Flow.
You've got the agents to work now?
Yeah. So you can list all the bookings. So that's automatically he created that with the Plan Designer. So
that's awesome.
That's awesome. So maybe in another time we can talk about agents.
We could spend literally hours just talking about Plan Designer.
Yeah, so. Of course. Yeah, so it's very cool. Okay, back to you, Gabriel.
Thank you again, David.
Thank you so much again.
Thank you, David. Yeah, and I wanted to second what Kat said. I honestly learned a lot, and it's really cool seeing the screen reader in use, because we talk about it a lot here, but unless you're somebody that uses it regularly, it's kind of hard to understand what does that actually look like. So that was really cool to see in action. So thank you for that.
Yeah, sure.
I think, do you want to? Am I just taking over?
You want to stop? Yes.
Yep. You
can take over. Yeah.
So.
Okay. Awesome. Let me share my screen here. Just a moment. All right. Again, with a quick introduction. So, hello, everyone. My name is Gabriel Rizzio. I'm a business analyst / application developer here at Timberline Manufacturing in small town Marion, Iowa. I've been developing in the Power Platform for about 4 years now, using Power Apps, Dataverse, Power Automate, Power BI, and a little bit of Power Pages. I know some people might be able to relate, but I've been in the GCC high space for a long time, so features like Copilot and agents are still eluding me, but I'm excited to use them at some point. The case for consistency. So this presentation is going to be kind of a beginner's approach to what does it mean to have consistency in your applications and how does it really benefit the users. So what is consistency, right? So Power Apps are usually developed quickly and with a very specific business case in mind. And that's kind of part of what makes the platform so powerful for us, right? It lets us move fast, build exactly what we need right when we need it. It also gives us the freedom to be creative, which is especially exciting for new makers just getting started. But as our app ecosystem grows, that creativity has to be balanced with a bit of structure, not to stifle innovation, but to make sure that all of our apps feel like they belong in the same system. And so that's where the consistency piece comes in. And I'm not just talking about how things look. That's going to be a big part of it. But what I'm talking about is the visual, navigational, terminological, and behavioral consistency. Without that kind of consistency in place, even like the most well-designed apps can become confusing or frustrating, especially when somebody has to jump between multiple tools just to get through their day. I remember early on in my role here learning or hearing this phrase, right? I have to use so many different apps to do my job. And hearing this frustration stuck out to me as a genuine problem. So I set out to solve it. Not that I'm not, I want to also add a disclaimer here. I am not claiming to be any sort of expert in the UI or UX field, but I have picked up a few tips along the way from people in this chat, YouTube, going to conferences and things like that I'd like to share here that I think can make a real difference in how users experience your apps and help them feel less overwhelmed. So why is it important? Well, we touched on this a minute ago, but let's talk about a few more specifics. First off, it really wouldn't be a presentation on UI and UX without mentioning cognitive load. For the uninitiated, cognitive load refers to the mental effort that it takes someone to figure out what's going on. Even small inconsistencies in your app's UI can cause the user to pause or even get stuck when performing a task. When users don't get it right away, it can take them longer to adopt and implement the use of your application. And for certain users, the frustration of learning something new and unfamiliar may even lead to total abandonment of your solution. On the flip side, utilizing consistent design patterns will remedy these issues as well as provide some other bonuses. When every app looks and behaves the same, users only need to learn it once, which translates to a shorter time to onboard. A consistent UI across several applications or many screens also makes your apps feel like they're part of the same family, which, when done right, can even create the illusion of a single-page application. And lastly, familiarity breeds confidence, and confidence equals speed. So when your users are confident in the behavior and presentation of your design, this will directly translate to the speed at which they can perform tasks within it. So I touched on why consistent UI matters: shorter onboarding, cohesive ecosystem, increased user confidence. But it's not just one thing, right? It shows up in multiple ways across our apps. So I've gone ahead and broken it down into 4 key categories to talk about today. You've got the visual, navigation, terminology, and behavioral. Visual, right, how things look. This is what most people think of when they say UI. Navigation, how do the users functionally move around the app? Terminology, the language that we use. And behavioral, how components and features respond to user input. So let's start with visual. So visual, this is all about how things look, right? Your fonts, colors, spacing, alignment, button styles and icons, header layouts and inputs. When these elements are consistent, users recognize patterns. They don't have to think twice about what's clickable or what's important. But when they're inconsistent, visual differences can cause confusion, hesitation, and even misuse of your app. The font styling in your application plays a huge role. Font families, sizes, and colors set the tone, guide the eye, and prioritize information. So this is a sample style guide, or at least a section of it, where we've defined text sizes for titles, headers, body text, and small/supplemental text. On the right, I've also defined some colors that the text will use in this app. Plain black for primary text and a very dark gray for secondary text and paragraphs. One thing to keep in mind when maintaining font sizes in Power Apps is that modern controls and classic controls will interpret size differently. So I'd recommend sticking with either the label control or the modern text control for the entirety of your application. And that's something I'd love to hear from people afterwards too. What do you prefer to use in your current production apps? For this presentation, I've used a lot of the modern controls, but in a lot of my production apps, I like to use still the classic label controls, just as I'm familiar with it and I've already set up the style guides for those. On to button styling. A quick introduction to my favorite modern Canvas component, like I was just speaking on, is the modern buttons. So by maintaining a consistent visual styling of buttons across your entire ecosystem, users will be able to translate their experience from one app to another with little explanation. In this example, I've chosen green as the app's primary branding color. So that color is going to be used consistently for all primary actions, which are typically the most important or most clicked button on the screen, such as submit, add, or edit. For secondary actions, things like opening a settings page, canceling an action, or opening a filter panel, I'll use a neutral fill with a border, or simply the secondary button style on the modern controls to visually de-emphasize them while keeping them accessible. For destructive buttons, things like delete, remove, and reject, I usually keep these red and combine them with an appropriate and industry standard icon that users will instantly recognize. See the trash can for delete, the little eraser icon for remove, and then the X for reject. And then finally, hyperlinks or navigational links will follow the standard blue underline format, ensuring that they're instantly recognizable as a link and accessible throughout the app. In most cases, even if this sticks out to the rest of your branding, most internet users are already trained to recognize a hyperlink when they see one, and they'll know that they can click on it and maybe expect what happens when they will. Onto input fields. The goal of input fields is pretty simple. Help users understand what's needed and complete forms with confidence. Use standard visual cues such as a red outline and asterisk for required or incomplete fields, and then darken or gray out disabled or read-only fields, and include an accessible label to prevent users from even trying to interact with it. Excuse me. So as you can see here, right on the visual, on the inputs, I really like what David showed in the previous presentation, making sure that you're able to tab through them, but then also keeping in mind that you're keeping all of these accessible so that if the user does tab to it, they know that they can't actually interact with it. So we're going to go next to spacing. So consistent spacing is subtle, but it's incredibly important. It helps users build muscle memory and keeps screens feeling clean and predictable. On the left, I've got a few padding examples. So using 8, 16, or 24 pixels creates a creates a rhythm across screens that feels intentional and professional. The margins example below that demonstrate how spacing between elements like cards, form fields, or sections in a gallery can create a natural grouping and improve readability. And then over on the right here, we've got button group alignment. So obviously this example here is not in alignment with the buttons I showed before, but what I'm looking at here is the spacing between the buttons. So typically I like to use 8 or 16 pixel gaps so that they don't feel crowded or awkward. And then finally, the grid layout below shows consistent column spacing, again, using standard gaps like 16 or 24 to support visual structure and alignment. This level of detail, while it's small, it makes it, to me at least, it's what makes apps feel polished and intuitive instead of chaotic. And if you're familiar already, something I'd recommend looking into is the 8-pixel rule, is what I've heard it called. But really just making sure that you're adopting a certain visual grid, whether it's 4 pixels, 8 pixels, but keeping your grid to a multiple of 4 or 8 makes it a lot easier to properly space things out consistently. And then also by looking at something, you can tell what that might be spaced out as. And then next for navigation, this is about how users move through the app, right? So menus, tabs, and back and home behavior. Breadcrumb trails, headers, and navigational hierarchy also pull into this. So when navigation is consistent, users don't get lost. They know where they are, how they got there, and how to return. It gives them the confidence to move forward or backward through the app without fear of losing their place or forgetting how to access a certain screen. Clear, repeatable patterns reduce hesitation and help users to stay focused on their task and not on just retracing their steps. So for tabs and menus are the primary navigational elements in your application. So they should always be predictably accessible. In Power Apps, this is easily accomplished using a component for your sidebar, header, or nav bar, or all three. Not only does this keep the key actions like home, submit, or search, things like that, always within reach, but it also sets a consistent visual anchor that helps users stay oriented as they move through the app. So when your navigation stays fixed and only the main content, like you see here, changes between screens, it creates a smoother, more predictable experience. And it emulates the feel of a single-page application where navigation is seamless, transitions are fast, and users never feel like they've been dropped into a totally new context. This small structural decision makes a big impact, though. It reduces cognitive load, builds confidence, and reinforces the idea that the user is still within the same app environment, even as they complete complex tasks across different screens or different apps entirely. Back in home behavior, this one's pretty simple. Always give your users a way to start over. Obviously, depending on the use case of your app, you might not need something like this, but in the context of an app that has a lot of steps, or you may be doing other things in it, always give your users a way to get back to that start screen of the app without having to reload the entire app. This is especially important in apps that you have that enable deep linking. So if the user had opened that app with a link that opened a specific item in it, how does that user continue using that application without reloading using that URL? As you know, may be a problem with Canvas apps. Next is avoiding buried features. So put simply, remember that the purpose of the app, or when developing, remember the purpose of the app or the screen that you're currently working on. Utilize those button design standards that we discussed earlier to make sure that users can tell right away how to proceed. If the purpose of the current screen is approving or rejecting a request, then they should be only one click away. I love these little ellipses menus for extra extra actions when screen space is sparse, but not for hiding the primary functions of the application, right? So in this case here, we want to have that approve and reject button right away visible. And then finally, for the navigation piece, breadcrumbs and indicators. So I could have given this entire presentation, and I probably will put something together at some point, because I could definitely talk for an hour on it, on breadcrumbs alone. This is by far my favorite UI element. And so breadcrumb trails, right, aptly named, they show the user where they've been and allow for step retracing. So for example, I have here, as well as the functional breadcrumb trail that this presentation is using, is from the creator kit, which I've got a link here in the app, and I think somebody will send that in the chat in a moment. And so just to briefly demonstrate, right, you can see as I've been moving through the app, this breadcrumb trail has been building. And then if I click the add button here, we can see how that works in function. And then I can either go back one screen or I can go back many screens. So the coolest thing about breadcrumb trails, I just want to add one more thing. When implemented properly, you can use this element to allow the user to return to a previous visited screen like we saw, but you can also use it to store context variables over time. So if I view the details on an item and then use that to view a related item and then come back to that same screen, I can use the breadcrumb trail to reload those context variables to actually load up that exact item on that screen from before, which has been very helpful in some apps. Similarly, right below this, the process indicators. So similar to the breadcrumb trail, which orients the user and tells the user where are you in the app, these process indicators or something similar to it, when working on a task in some sort of task management solution, will show the user where they are in the, where the item is in the process that it's following, right? So this example here is from a material request application where users are able to select the step that they'd like to move the ticket to. So they can see when opening it at a glance where it is in the process, and then to move it on or to move it around where it needs to be, an admin can come in and simply click on where it needs to be. And then depending on the step that they're moving from or moving to, it will prompt them to enter more information if they need it. Go back here and we'll go to terminology. So next up is terminology. So this is one of the most overlooked but most powerful ways to reduce user confusion. Every word in your app is a design decision. When users see a field labeled owner in one app and assigned to in another, but they mean the same thing, it creates friction, causes people to pause, second guess, and sometimes make mistakes. That's why it's important to standardize your terminology across all applications. Use familiar, plain language whenever possible. Avoid team-specific jargon or shorthand, especially if your app is for multiple departments. And most importantly, make sure that the words in your UI match what's used in training materials, support guides, and everyday conversations. That alignment builds trust and reduces the need for extra explanation. If you work on a team with multiple makers, a shared glossary or a terminology guide can go a long way. And agreeing on what we call things makes everything else, navigation, training, support, so much easier. A brief example, some of the Power Apps that I've been developing here at Timberline interact with our ERP system. There's certain, maybe not industry standard or maybe not intuitive terms or phrases that come from this ERP system that I've chosen to implement in these Power Apps, not because they make the most sense to the everyday user, but because to the people who are going to be using these apps are already trained on that ERP system. And so now we know that because this word says owner, it means the same thing in both apps where it says owner for that field. And then for behavioral, so this is how your app responds to user actions. This is what makes your app feel predictable. It's not just about how things look, it's about what happens when somebody clicks a button or a form. Users will quickly build expectations based on previous experiences. So if a save button sometimes shows a spinner and other times just grays out with no feedback, it breaks that expectation, that hesitation of, did it work? Should I click it again? It adds friction, of course, but also if the user is not sure if clicking that button had actually done what they wanted it to do, they may be clicking it again and again and again, and then you're building on that data, and that could cause some pretty bad things to happen depending on where you've implemented it. And then what I mean by behavioral consistency, right? Every button responds the same way across apps. Destructive actions like delete and reject always trigger a confirmation, right? We don't want to surprise somebody by accidentally clicking delete. Forms always show a success message in the same place. And then disabled fields and loading states give clear visual feedback so the user knows if they're waiting for something to happen in the background. These patterns create rhythm, they build trust, and just like good navigation, they keep users focused on their work and not second guessing what the app is doing. So I'll go back now. And now that we've kind of briefly touched on the visual, navigation, terminology, and behavioral sections of consistency, how can you start to implement that in your work? So for how to get started, right? Define your standards or fonts. Let's take it back a step. First off, create or adopt a style guide if you don't have one already. Define your standards for fonts, spacing, buttons, inputs, and terms. Share it with your team, and even a simple one-page guide is better than none. Build or borrow standard components like headers, navbars, breadcrumb trails, and modals, and use Power Apps component libraries to keep them updated across all of your apps. And then design screens with consistent structure, right? Navigation is up on top or on the side. Forms are aligned, buttons are in the expected places. Grid layouts and spacing rules go a long way here. Pick one or two, and then next, pick one or two apps that need cleanup, right? Apply consistent styling and navigation to bring them in line, and then use those apps as applications to set the tone, or as examples rather, to set the tone moving forward. And then talk to your users, see what slows them down, what confuses them, what's working, right? Consistency is about them, not just what looks good to us as makers. And so I've included a few links here that should be sent in the chat as well. But for creating and adopting a style guide, for a lot of the applications that I've developed, especially before I had really decided on the style I was going to go for, I used Dribbble. At least I think that's how you say it. There's 3 B's, so it might be Dribbable. But I like to use that website to get any sort of inspiration, especially when I'm designing a new element or need to see how could this screen possibly be structured. So using Dribbble, especially this link with style guides, is a great reference to see what your style guide could look like. And then, leveraging reusable components. If you're not using components in your Canvas apps already, I would highly recommend you to click on this link, get started. There's a lot of resources online as well. But using components, using a standard component library so that all of your apps feel like the user is using one app, even if they don't necessarily know that it's multiple, can really go a long way in that user experience. So I know this was kind of a very, very high level. I don't have any extra demonstrations today, but that is all I had to talk about. Again, my name is Gabriel Rizzio. If anybody would like to connect with me, I've got my LinkedIn here, GA Rizzio, and I would love to hear any questions that you guys have, or hear any feedback afterwards, or if you would just like to connect and continue the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gabriel. That was absolutely amazing. It took me and Kat, almost 12 months to convince you to present for us. So yeah,
Not a full 12 months. We only adopted him back in October.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, consistency would work again, with that matter, in that matter as well. And obviously, like the presentation itself and the breadcrumbs as well. Honestly, amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I think we should give him props for doing the whole presentation in Power Apps.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Everyone, again, we can do. Real clapping. Okay, cool.
I already mentioned this to Kat, but the question is, was I going above and beyond by using Power Apps, or did I just not know how to use PowerPoint properly?
Officially or unofficially.
Also,
you better use Power Pages, because you see the Canvas app is inside of an iframe, so you won't be able to apply that. So Power Pages is more easier.
Yeah, that was a cherry on the cake to have it in Power Apps as well. So yes, well done.
Great job. And this was the first presentation you've done like this, correct, Gabriel?
This was, yes, I think I forgot to mention that at the beginning. This is the first time I've ever presented in the Power Platform space.
So, props.
Amazing. Well, absolutely well done.
Maybe this is the first of many more to come.
Yes.
Sure.
Fingers crossed.
We will encourage that, absolutely. Are there any questions for Gabriel?
I have a question. So the app that you've just shown us is an amazing presentation tool, but I think it also works very well to provide to people who are building Power Apps as a guide to them to say that this is what you should follow to create a nice looking app that will be easy to use. Have you already done that with that, or was this app just created for this presentation?
It was actually created for this presentation, but then I am also adapting that existing Canvas app, and I'm going to be using that as an interactive style guide in our environment, so that as we grow our development team, I'd like to kind of use that as a learn this app, open it in edit mode, see how things are done, copy and paste things if you need it. But yeah, that is the goal, is to use that as an interactive style guide for future generations of the company.
I think that's a great idea. And I think that your company will then have such consistency across the apps. Everyone will benefit. Yeah, really cool. Well done.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone needs to Yeah, me too. I don't know if anyone ever needs to do this mandatory compliance training for the organization they're working, and you want to click next, and then get to the last slide of it. And with this one, you just want to stop and enjoy it and actually read it. So yes, you can do that as well as a sidekick, create apps that deliver a compliance training with kind of that type of visuals. So yeah, one more comment from me.
So with the app that I shared too, I wanted to share, if anybody wants that app, I'm happy to export it and send it to you. If you'd like to see how I did something, or use it as a framework to make something similar. The only reason I wasn't saying I'm going to post it, anybody can download it, I want to clean a few things up. I definitely made the majority of it in the last week, and so there's a few things like accessibility labels and naming conventions that I may have moved away from in order to get something that looks good first. But if anybody's okay with digging through a little of that, I can definitely send it to them when they want it.
I mean, I'm not opposed to you publishing that to the PNP samples gallery, even.
Oh, so, yes. That's a good shout.
Once you get that cleaned up, putting that out there for others to be able to access and get some street cred.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Maybe get a badge as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
You should. Okay. And any more questions for Gabriel? Any more comments? Okay, if that's the case, we actually I just realized that we still have a few slides to go through. So let me just quickly share my screen again before we're going to say final goodbyes. I completely forgot. Okay, am I showing the screen again?
Yep. The presentation screen.
Okay. So very quickly, we would like to thank you for the 12 months of amazing sessions. Today it's our exact 12 meeting. We kick off last July. So yes, thank you so very much to all our speakers and all our regular attendees to the call. As I said, we have so many amazing speakers. We wanted to celebrate them. And Kat, as usual, went crazy with creating so nice animation for us. So thanks, Kat, for us. We even included our today's presenters as well. Sean, you are there. I don't know if there's any other presenter on the call with us today, but yes. Oh yes, we have JP as well, don't we? I saw his name. Anyone else? I'm not sure, but yes. So thanks so much again. And I hope we can see more names on the board for the next year. So please do submit your session. We shared the link into the chat. We're happy to do that again. So yes, please submit your session and share your knowledge and experience with us. One more quick announcement as well. There are some changes on the Microsoft Community Tenant. It will be retiring, so we'll be looking for a new home for hosting our events. We find a temporary solution for next month, but there might be some changes, so we might need a bit of a break in August to organize ourselves properly. But for July, we do still have an event as always on the 11th. We have another couple of amazing speakers. We have Samir and Lucas as well. So either scan the QR code if you're interested to attend, or Charlie, if you can be so kind, please, if you can share the link as well, that would be amazing. So yes, thank you so much again for attending today. If you have any feedback regarding our call or in general, please use the QR code to submit your feedback. Also, if you have any ideas, suggestions for a session, if you want to see a specific topic, please also leave that on the feedback form. We will try to find the presenter or that can deliver that for us, or one of us can even do it if we have enough knowledge in that space. And yes, that's it for us for today.